Hello, today we're talking saints. I'm in one of the UK's largest towns, Northampton, and with music from the Civic Church All Saints. It's also the home of the Saints rugby team, and with tomorrow being St George's Day, we take a look at the unlikely origins of England's patron saint. Welcome to Songs of Praise. A bit of the Premiership side that was started by a local vicar. Visit the Good Loaf, a cafe where making bread is changing lives.
This was an alternative to prison. It's getting you back into the community, and I've just engaged with the whole thing.
And on the 25th anniversary of the death of Stephen Lawrence, his mother, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, talks about how her faith has helped her.
I pray for guidance, I pray for protection, and I feel I've been protected.
Just before we head inside All Saints Church for our opening hymn, we'd like to say a very happy birthday for yesterday to Her Majesty the Queen. And we begin with a hymn we understand to be one of her favourites, Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven. Tomorrow will be St George's Day, and since the 14th century he's captured our imagination with tales of dragons and damsels in distress. But there's a lot more to St George, as Reverend Rose Hudson Wilkin found out when she joined a group of medieval reenactors to explore the story.
Wow, this looks as if I've been transported to another era.
It was soon after he came to the throne in 1327 that King Edward III adopted St George as England's patron saint, even though George wasn't actually English.
Your Majesties.
Greetings.
Thank you.
Cheers.
The story of St George is that he was born into a wealthy Christian family in what is now modern-day Turkey, so he wasn't British at all. Now, he joined the Roman army, and the emperor at the time was beginning to get very unhappy that there was too much Christian influence. He insisted that they had to make sacrifice to the pagan gods. St. George was having none of that. He was a Christian. And so he freed his slaves, he shared his wealth with them, and this really upset the emperor. He clearly liked St. George because he tried to get him to change his mind by offering him more wealth. But St. George was having none of that. And unfortunately, the emperor was left with no other choice. St. George was beheaded on the 23rd of April in the year 303 AD. Now, the legend of St. George becoming a saint was that there was this village in Libya that had a dragon. And this dragon was killing the local people. They appeased it by giving the dragon sheep. They ran out of sheep, and then they started offering children. The king devised a plan that they would draw lots to see which child was offered to the dragon. On this particular day, it was the king's daughter. And who should ride up but St. George? And he said, I will kill the dragon if you all agree to become Christians. And so St. George slayed the dragon. The dragon symbolizing evil, St. George good. And good conquers. And that's important for us to remember. To me, St. George carries a special meaning. I was baptized on the 23rd of April. And then I was actually married on the 23rd. And again, I was ordained a priest on the 23rd of April. So when it comes to his faith, in living out his faith, I'm right there with him.
On the back streets of the busy market town of Northampton is an award-winning bakery and cafe set up by the charity Crime to Christ.
Hello, I believe I've come to learn to bake bread today.
It may look like just another cafe, but behind the scenes it's so much more.
So Becky, we've got our dough. What do we do?
I'm going to put it down on the floured surface and give it a kneading for about 10 minutes. So stretch it.
The cafe runs courses to help vulnerable women get their lives back on track. When Charlie started here, her life was very different.
So I was in Crown Court for quite a serious offence, and given it wasn't my first offence, I would have gone to prison. So this was an alternative to prison. I was on a electronic tag, ordered to come here to do community service, and I've just engaged with the whole thing, and it's not just a punishment when you come here, it's getting you back into the community in the right way.
Susie and Jane are involved in running the charity.
What sort of things do the women learn here?
That's volunteering, hospitality and catering, food safety, which includes all sorts of things like CV writing, customer relations, working on the till, barista skills. It goes on and on. So by the end of the course, the ladies really do have a good set of employability skills to go out there with.
We have houses both for men and for women, and a couple of the ladies that work for us now are actually in some of our supported housing.
Me and my son moved up from London. Unfortunately, I was actually homeless, me and my son at that time. Ended up coming and speaking to Susie, telling her a bit of my story with my son. And I'm now currently living in one of their houses. Literally within a couple of weeks of being on the work programme, I sorted out my CV.
Yeah.
They see a lot of potential in you.
Yeah.
They trust you with a lot of things as well.
Hi, a latte for you?
Thank you very much.
What about the skills you've learned since you've been here?
Loads of skills, like even bread making, in coffee. I won't sound a professional.
Yeah,
I know.
you're
I
on
can
the
make
way.
you one and it'll be all right. I'm getting there, yeah, I'm getting there.
We've seen women just grow in confidence. Our foundation is Jesus. He came to call the lost, didn't he? And that's, I think, core of where we're at.
Thank you very much.
I took up the option to go to church with one of our managers, and it was a really, really interesting experience because I've never been to a church service. I might have been to the odd wedding or something. And it's really nice as well because it's not forced down your throat. It's there if you want to take it.
There is no judgment here. It is about looking to helping them change their life around and making new, more positive decisions for them.
We'll pop them into the oven to bake.
Perfect.
So, you know, people walk through the door and their lives can be so broken, and the situations they're in, there's such darkness there. It's not what God intended for them, and it's that keeps me going.
Wow.
Oh, brilliant. Look at those.
Mine looks lovely.
Are they good enough, Becky?
Amazing, lady.
Thank you. Well, our next hymn speaks of God's unfailing love for us all.